100%. Like I'll just jump in here, and so I definitely agree with Mark with all that stuff. What I think is funny here is when you're talking about memes, it's like it's the whole Braveheart type of thing, the hold meme, and it's funny. Like sports, the left has taken over entertainment, academia, industry, all this stuff, but it's beer. I would not have guessed it would have been beer that is what we draw the line at. But it's funny, but for the most part, it's because it's the cultural impact that Mark was saying. For better for worse, Bud Light has been this idea, a cultural impact of American culture. Whether it's the '90s, "What's Up" commercials, and all of this football and sports, and I think people were tired of it, and it goes more so the fact that what the VP of marketing that Mark was talking about is that she was saying like we got her language was Marxist in itself, right? You wouldn't say that outright unless you know what she's talking about. She's saying like we need to get rid of this fratty image, even though the pictures has surfaced her being that same frat person that she's trying to her words is to evolve and elevate. Really, that just means to hollow out the culture of this fratty and traditionalism and everything that what made Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light popular, and not just popular, just a mainstay, right? And so she wanted to, again, her excuse was that we need to market to younger generations and do this stuff so that we can be all inclusive, but she has cut out her whole base, and it's so hilarious because she's talking about like we are a failing company, we need to do all this stuff. No, like Anheuser-Busch is still one of the best companies. It's because if you look into the ESG score, Anheuser-Busch was lowered, and so she was a higher for Caesar was mentioning, the diversity, equity, inclusion. She was a hire for that. So this was all purposeful. This was not about making money. This is about making a statement that you need to succumb to the propaganda, the woke ideology, the Marxist ideology from that she was gaining in all her indoctrinations. And so it's funny. Like, we can talk about how funny this is, but in the root cause that we know that this is Marxist ideology that has been infecting, like I said, academia, sports, entertainment, media, and I would love to 100% see that the boycott is gonna continue. I forgot how many billions they already lost within this 2-3 week period.
10% year after year.
Yeah. And so, likewise to what Aang was saying, Mark Aang was saying that we should definitely not just boycott Bud Light, but all of Anheuser-Busch and get a full apology, like not just some watered down apology, and then them giving us some whack commercial about horses running and they're trying to cover base. Like, no, like, apologize for having Dylan Mulvaney there. And it's not because of Dylan Mulvaney per se, and part of it's just that they are willing to sacrifice what made this brand great, but sacrificing the whole base. And you're stupid. Essentially, they're saying that the American people is stupid, buy our product and just consume whatever we give you. And I think the American people are done. So,
Mitch, well said. I wanted to jump in on a few things. First of all, I have to hand it to conservatives for getting together and switching out the letters of DEI to DIE. Because it really is death. Okay, diversity, inclusion, and equity. DIE. You die. Your brand dies when you actually go down that route. But there's a lot of things going on. One of the things, Mitch, you always trigger my brain. I love all your points, man. One of the things about Dylan Mulvaney, it is about him. I'm sorry to say, there is, when you actually watch this guy, at first I thought he was a conservative parody of trains because of how over the top, ridiculous, and caricature-like he makes out being a woman is, and this guy documents his 365 days of transition from, man to woman, and all the stereotypes and all the shallow stuff is really just unbecoming of, I don't care who you are, but that message is not a good one. It sends the wrong message to young girls, even if you're accepting of trans, which, you know, there are some people that are, and I respect different, you know, ideas around that. But the way Mulvaney does it is, of all people, Bud Light chose to highlight their brand. They chose someone that's, I believe, is mocking women. So I really wanted to bring that point across and see what you guys thought about it. Mitch, do you have any thoughts on that? Because I think it's insulting whenever I see Dylan Mulvaney do his thing.
No, 100%. Like, what? Let me just somewhat clarify as far as this not particularly with the Dylan Mulvaney. I think he's a factor, but he's only a factor because of like social media and everything. And so he is a symptom of what is going on with social media and the algorithm and everything. So when I say it's not necessarily him, which is we'll talk into right now, but he's just he's just a part of the algorithm, right? And so 100%, like, he is basically, if you have seen his TikToks and if prior to 2022, like it's just a flamboyant gay man. He would be like the Richard Simmons of 2023, right? And so if you've seen him on Price is Right back in 2020, there's videos out there. He was just a flamboyant gay guy. And so he was looking for this grift as far as how do I get popular? How do I get attention? He was on Ellen doing the same thing, dancing and all this stuff. And so, and if you look on his TikTok, and other people have mentioned this and done the research, like, he just mentioned like gay stuff, and then all of a sudden in 2022 he's gay, he's trans. Like, no, this is just for a grift. And like people have mentioned it, this is like blackface but woman face, you know. And so he's just making this mockery of what women is actually 100%, because he has videos of saying I'm in heels in the forest, you know, like walking in heels, like this. He's just making a mockery of women and a parody, and it's hilarious that a lot of these makeup companies and Nike are attaching themselves to someone who is not even a good role model. And it's just, again, like I said, it's just a product of social media, this algorithm, and it's like, whether that's nefarious or it's just a bad algorithm that's like propagating him. And so because people say stop talking about him and everything, I want to talk about him in a sense where we need to pinpoint what's wrong with this, rather than, yes, he's getting attention, but we need to pinpoint like he is not a good role model, and this is, again, maybe a psyop that, like, this is how people should act when it's just a mockery. So I'll let someone continue.
And Mitch, you know, Megyn Kelly even, you know, who actually suggested that a better brand ambassador would have been someone like Caitlyn Jenner, if you're going to go the trans route. And I really feel like, and you know, and I'm trying to look at it with objective eyes, but Dylan really comes off like you said, he's mocking women, and it's misogynistic. It's actually sexist. And I don't know what some of the women on this, Josie, Dolly, what do you guys think? Have you seen, videos of this guy? What are your thoughts on him? I mean, as a woman, do you feel offended?
My comment in general, not in this particular person, is that if you're going to use transgender, why can we not get somebody that's decent enough? Have a nice hair culture, have a nice makeup. I mean, why do you have to be so obvious? You don't have to be obvious to be a transgender. No, you don't. If you want to be a woman, then portray a beautiful, decent woman. And if you're going to use you as a model, they're going to, seriously, everyone I see, they make it so, like you said, they're making a mockery out of a woman when you do that. Nobody goes in front of a camera with eyebrows, because they're yang, you know, really.
Mark was right. Caitlyn would have been
because,
a good,
you all have
a better model.
We are all Filipinos. And in the Philippines, you know, we respect transgender or bakla. We call them, you know, the gay, we call them bakla. We have beauty pageant of gay people. We don't make a big deal out of it, if you think about it. But here, they are making it so, like you said, again, it's mocking the other gender. That's how I feel about it.
It's so true, Josie. And don't you think that, you know, it's amazing. It's another symptom of a lack of effort these women, these transgender that try to like the Americans, you know, there's a meme now going on that Asian transgenders like our Filipinos, they really look like women. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
The lady boys in Thailand actually pass. These ones in America just look like clowns, like freak shows.
Yeah.
There's even a Japanese anime that makes fun of it because, you know, they portray these American Western transgenders as just ogres, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're scary looking. Dolly, you have any thoughts? And, you know, but I think there's a backlash. And I know Mitch and Edwin, I'm curious to see if you've heard of the term TERF. TRF. And I just learned recently that TERF stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminists. So there's a war between the trans and a lot of feminists right now who are deemed to be radical and excluding of them, because there's a debate because the feminists are rightly saying, you know, why do men get to play dress up and actually, you know, dominate our sports, our beauty pageants, blah, 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 right? So I'm curious, especially Mitch, I know you follow up on this stuff. What are your thoughts on kind of the civil war and the left?
Yeah, let me just touch base real quick on like like trans women in women's sports, and like if it was, well, one, I disagree with it, but we have like Riley Gaines who competed against Leah Thomas, right? They tied, and she was talking against this because when they were tied, they said like, hey, we're gonna have you guys on the podium, but they just chose Leah Thomas, and so she gets the preferential treatment. And so even when Riley Gaines was talking about this, she gets attacked by a mob and everything, and she was locked into a closet, and the mob outside of their things like, you need to pay us before you leave. So this is about power. This isn't about like visibility and heritage and caring and everything. This is all about power, right? And then going back into your question about the TERFs, I mean, one great example is J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter books. She just said things like women are women, trans women are trans women type of thing. Not verbatim, but kind of like on that same boat. Like we should empower women. And so by doing that, she is labeled as, you're saying, a TERF. Or we can even go to more recently, Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks, who just put out a tweet last month saying, don't call me a birthing person. Don't call me a menstrual cycle person. Don't tell me that I'm a whatever. I'm a woman, and she's saying, don't degrade me. Like, don't you realize how degrading that is if you're just referring to me as a birthing person? Like, we can support in her words, we can support the trans community, but don't denigrate me as a woman by calling me these other terms. And so, it just kind of goes to the left ideology. You're just fighting amongst yourselves because it doesn't make sense. So you can't simultaneously say women are women and say that only biological females can be pregnant, because they have to jump in these cycles like trans men can be pregnant because they're biological females. And so again, all of this is nonsensical, and I think it's sometimes by purpose, but you know, it's just you can't argue with a lot of their side, because if you try to put logic, then you're essentially becoming like what Michael Knowles is saying, an extremist, just by saying like transgenderism needs to be exterminated, and so they're twisting his words and saying like people need to be exterminated. No, just the ideology, because it doesn't make sense. We want truth, and if we're saying that men can be pregnant, which is a fault, like that doesn't happen, we need to be living in truth. And so I mean, years ago we understood this. You know, I think the people who were like the older trans folks, I got Butch Angel, I believe, and everything, and so they would recognize, yeah, I'm a biological female, but I this is how it is, you know. And so they recognize science, they recognize reality, but we have come to the point where we have lost all senses, and well, at least not us. Like, we can still define what a woman is, we can still understand what two genders are, but it's the left that is falling out of circles and jumping into loops.
Okay, thank you, Edwin.
You know, it's not about politics anymore, and now it's gone to the way of, we need to promote sanity, and you know, we have a country that I think is 70-80% insane right now. And if we don't promote, you know, to be normal and remember what was normal not too long ago, then we as a country is going to fail. So let's forget about politics and, you know, promote sanity.
Mitch, go ahead.
Yeah, kind of echoing what Tita Dolly was mentioning with God. I mean, like, for the many times I talk to with my friends, this is no longer political, but this is spiritual warfare. And so, like, I'm glad a lot of people are waking up, whether it's the boycott with Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light, or going with the school choice and talking about whatever going on indoctrination in schools. I think, and the movies and media, them actually finally failing with all the woke ideology. I think we're seeing a turning point. And so if there's a good silver lining in all of this, one, Christ is risen, and two, that we're winning. I think we're getting to the point where over the hill where we're sanity, where Edwin was mentioning, like people are waking up, like people who weren't involved in any of this, now they're realizing what's going on, and we're pushing back and going back to the way of sanity, because it's crazy. We can't go around saying that men are pregnant, and we can't go around saying all of these things that are ridiculous. And so if any, the red pill moment and going into 2024, like, again, back in 2020, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have Elon, we didn't have a lot of these cultural moments. A lot of us knew, but now we have a lot more people on our side talking about sanity again. And so if we can just keep this momentum going, like, look which side of the aisle can figure out which two genders, you know. I think if you start pointing it out to your normie Democrats or your moderates, that like which side of the aisle has more sanity, I think they might, maybe even as the stubborn Filipinos who are in for the unions, I think they might change their mind for a sanity vote. So